today we have Todd Crossley. Todd is a fourth-generation automotive industry leader, a dynamic entrepreneur, visionary when it comes to innovation in business. Todd's the owner of Gary Crossley Ford, one of the top-performing dealerships in the country. It's right here in Kansas City. Under his leadership, the dealership has earned Ford's prestigious Triple Crown Award and become a pillar of excellence in both sales and service. Todd's story is a lot more in depth than that. He's also a founding partner of Vin Solutions, a tech startup company that revolutionized dealership CRM systems and sold for a reported $150 million. He's the kind of guy who sees where the market is going and builds a road to get there. There's other businesses I wanted to get into with you as well, more than what I just mentioned. But yeah. Todd, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
I should have you do all my intros. That was a pretty good pitch.
Hey, I wrote it and I read it. You know,
That's pretty good.
Didn't memorize it next time.
That's pretty good, man.
Right on. But no, man, thanks for coming through. Todd and I just got in a workout. We trained back.
Yeah.
Pretty good workout, too. We'll see how good tomorrow when we wake up, right?
Yeah. It's going to hurt tomorrow. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Good hurt.
First question, what did you drive here?
I drove a Raptor R, one of the new Raptors with the 800 horsepower V8. Nice. It is the best truck. I mean, I've been spoiled, been able to drive trucks and cool trucks my whole life and in and out of demos. But this Raptor R is the best truck they've ever built. I love a 450. I use my 450, but I use that to tow with a lot too, but I love to drive it. And this Raptor R, I mean, this one's not a demo. I bought this one. This one into the collection. So it's
sweet. Yeah.
Truck.
I drive a trimmer.
Yep.
I couldn't justify the Raptor. And then when I went and looked at him, I see the Raptor R. I'm like, now that one doesn't even compare, right?
Did it hurt your feelings when I let you drive it?
The only thing comparable, I think, to the Raptor R, from what I understand, would be the TRX.
TRX. Still driving-wise, just overall power, the R is more of a performance. The TRX is similar, closer to the Raptor. It's probably between the regular Raptor and the Raptor R, I'd say. Okay. Actually, as far as performance.
I'm a Ford guy. I've only driven Fords for like the past 15 years.
Yeah.
But you also drive the Bronco. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up driving old Broncos. I have an old 73 Bronco, which that I'd rebuilt.
Is that the full size?
Yep. The 73 was the old square body original Broncos before you're thinking like the 80s or late 70s.
Yeah, the Bronco
square
2s.
Bodies, and then they went to the Bronco 2s.
Yeah.
But these are kind of the OG 70s, and I love that. And this new style came out with the new Bronco. That's the new, it's the nostalgic look.
Yeah.
And basically, it's been great for Ford and all the Ford dealers because the Jeep's been out there forever, that platform. So Ford was able to start with a clean slate and look at everything the Jeep needed and bring back the Bronco nameplates. All the issues, Jeeps are cool, right? Why do you drive a Jeep? Because it's cool. It's fun. But they're noisy, the wind noise, they're underpowered. They're not.
They are underpowered.
They're not well built because it's the same platform they've had for 30-plus years. So Ford fixed all that. So, the Broncos are really quiet. It's little stuff. Like, you take the doors off, the mirrors are still there. So you're legal. Like a Jeep, if you take the mirrors attached to the doors. So technically you're illegal if you take the doors off.
Okay.
And you can put the doors in the back of the Bronco. Just little stuff that I'm not sure most people don't rip all their gear off and do it. But if you really want to do off-roading, the Broncos.
Nice. Yep. I drove a Gladiator when I was in Arizona for a meeting. And it was cool in town, but on the interstate it was a nightmare. Underpowered and loud. Loud, yeah. Right? So, all right. Let's get into it, though. Let's talk about family business legacy. So obviously, you guys' family has built a powerhouse in regards to dealerships. What was it like growing up in the business?
So it's funny. I'm actually fifth generation.
Oh, fifth generation
with Ford.
Okay.
So my great-great-grandfather worked for Henry Ford. Then my great-grandfather worked for Henry Ford. Then my grandfather worked for Henry Ford II, the Deuce. And then my dad went to the dealer side, and my uncle stayed in the manufacturing side. So, I have two daughters that have worked for me, so they're sixth generation.
Huh.
They're 19 and 20. Cami and Carly, they're at school at TCU right now, going down and taking over the world through Texas eyes. But they decided to come back and work in the business and all. They're sixth generation, and they did some internships and have worked in it. But it's crazy. So I bleed pretty blue with Ford.
Right on.
So that's good.
And you guys used to own the racetrack in Topeka. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. It's a good story and a bad story. It's a good story. I grew up. It's a road. So Topeka, Heartland Park was the largest racing complex in the country. It's 650 acres. And I grew up as a kid going there to the road course. So they have a road course, an NHRA funny, a drag strip. The road course is 2.5 mile, like IndyCar, NASCAR is what it used to be. They got a drifting track, we had an AMA dirt bike track, and we had an off-road, and we had a clay dirt track, circle track too, that we went out there and racing. And it was going out of business. It was going defunct, and a partner of mine at the end of 15, Chris Payne and I bought the track together and brought it back. And it was kind of a cool thing because going there as a young kid, being broke, Dick, couldn't even afford to drive there, to owning the track was a pretty cool experience. And Chris and I bought to save it. It wasn't the best business investment I ever did. And I sold out to my partner, Chris, who's still a good friend of mine today. We sold out in 20. I sold his ownership share back to him. But we set the world record. It was the fastest track in the world. It had an NHRA funny car, went and made a 300, and they just beat it finally, but not after the track closed. 337 miles, 339 miles an hour, and 1,000 feet.
I went when I was younger, and is there a legend out there, like Force?
John Force.
John Force.
Yeah.
Is that the guy who set the record?
Nope.
No?
It's funny. I sponsor a team with my partner. He's my partner in the car business now, too, a guy named Bob Tasca. Okay. Bob Tasca beat John Force the last year I owned the track to win the national title, national championship there in Topeka. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, because John Force, he was a drag racer. Right?
Yeah, he still is. He just had a bad. Yes, he just is.
He's got to be older.
He was. He's been ripping it. He had a bad crash last season, a really bad crash, and he hit the wall hard, and car came apart. Some weird things. They've since changed because of what happened. He's okay, but we don't know if he's going to race again. But his daughters both race, and they're fast. And there's some really fast women in that sport because naturally, I don't know if you know, women's reaction times are faster. So in a sport like that, when you're watching the tower go green, the brain to hand to foot, you actually hold a brake in those cars. You let go of the brake with your hand because your foot's already flat on the gas. So the reaction time to letting go and grabbing the handle is faster than guys. You see a lot of some of the top.
I know women's attention to detail is better. Like that's why they're better at certain things, and maybe that's the same situation.
Yep.
So sixth generation or fifth generation?
I'm fifth. Yep.
What I guess from your dad or from your grandfather's, what's one lesson that's stuck with you?
It's work ethic for my dad. So my dad, because we weren't on the dealership side of things, he went to Vietnam, came home from Vietnam, grew up around the car business and was excited to do it, but didn't have any access to the dealership. So he got an emergency small business loan. This is when Reagan came out with those emergency small business loans, which saved the country. Because what we know is small businesses is the majority of employs most people in the country, right?
Yeah.
And a loan he didn't qualify for went out. It was him, my mom, like 4 employees, middle of a snowstorm, 21% interest, like the whole story, right? And he bought the dealership on this emergency small business loan and ran the dealership. And he, for years, he unlocked the door every morning and locked it every night. So he worked his ass off. And it was right there in Liberty, Missouri. So if you know where the Claycoma plant is, it was the largest plant in the world for Ford for a while, but it's the largest plant in the country where they build the F-150 and now they build the Transit. And so my dad did a really good job of taking care of that community and those people. And
did they have UAW back then?
Oh, yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, so my grandfather was, I don't know what the position would be called today, but he was vice president of union relations for Ford, for all of Ford.
Okay.
So I've had union, both sides of union in my blood for a long time. Like my shop's a union shop, which is rare for car dealerships. Like other dealers around the country, like, what do you mean you're a union? Like my technicians are all UAW, and my porters are, my parts guys, my body shop guys, it's a union shop. It's good. It's good.
My gym's full of those guys. My Liberty location has tons of UAW Ford guys.
Yeah, it's a big plant.
And we did a contract with them when the plant gym shut down. Yeah. We housed them for a year. It was awesome.
Oh, nice.
And then a lot of them stayed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's cool. Those guys come in like their coveralls. You can tell they're either just getting off work or just getting ready to go to work.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of multi-generational guys down there too. I mean, there's guys that I
it's
knew
a good
their
gig for a lot
grandfathers, you know, they
okay.
buying cars, and their grandfather to my grandfather. It's cool. Cool heritage with Ford. Kansas City's very much Ford country.
Okay.
Yeah, per capita, what's crazy is there's more Ford dealers in Kansas City than anywhere else in the country per capita. Besides Detroit. Detroit has a lot of, but I mean, if you look at all compared to St. Louis, like what, St. Louis has 500,000 more people than us or something like that, or maybe a little more.
Is that because of the factory? Does that drive that or what?
I think that was part of it. It's when that's the first franchise model, period. Forget cars, there wasn't, Ford was one of the first franchises. I hadn't quite figured it out yet back then. So as Henry Ford was going around the country selling franchises, I don't think they had the model all the way figured out. And they've all survived. They're all profitable dealerships. I mean, Ford corporate would probably tell you they'd like to shut a few down, I would guess.
Yeah.
There's a little overpopulated, but it's all good operators, a lot of good dealers
How,
in the market.
You know, for me, I'm getting affected by the tariffs for construction situation. Yeah. My construction materials are up. You know, a good portion of gym equipment is sourced from China, if not even just the raw steel. How's that affecting the car business, and not just China, Canada? Because there's a lot of Fords that are made in Canada, right? How are you feeling that?
Parts,
parts,
and a lot of Mexico too. So
okay.
Mexico and Canada are.
And semiconductors are coming from Taiwan or China.
Taiwan. They're coming across okay. China's anything come from China. It's seen for everybody. It's good. Well, the good news is Ford. So nobody's of the domestics. Nobody's more American than Ford. So we have the least amount, but it will affect the business. Like the cars that sit on my lot today are what you call pre-tariff, because the cost of those tariffs aren't in the vehicles yet, so they're a little cheaper right now than they will be. So the cost is going up as the cost is going up for everything for a short time. I think it's a great long term, and by long term I'm saying less than 5 years, because a little bit of pain now I think is worth value. I'd make less money today to make sure that the future is better for my country and our kids and all the stuff moving forward, because we don't make steel anymore here. We don't make aluminum. You make the automotive guys build plants here. That stuff comes back. I mean, right across, you go to Detroit, there's just idle, massive, steel plants that they're firing back up. And I mean, you put a lot of people, and those are good jobs and good people. So it'll affect it. I don't think it's going to drive a big recession or be a nightmare. I don't think we've seen the final workout with it. But the good news, it's better to be a Ford dealer right now than like a Volkswagen dealer or one of those guys that doesn't have any American cars in there. That'll affect them a lot. The Chinese, we're starting with Chinese cars here, but we need to keep the Chinese cars out of here.
Yeah,
because the technology that they put in them is. I mean, think of an autonomous Chinese car. When they control the technology, they can take over. They can photo everything. The car sees everything, kind of like a Tesla. The cameras see everything. Plus, it's autonomous. They can take the car and send it wherever they want it to.
Right.
So there's some national security issues around, not just competing with China, but security issues with China.
I mean, yeah,
in the car world,
they're totally known for it.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. I don't ever really consider myself a Democrat or Republican. I'm more like whatever makes the most sense, whoever's the most qualified. And the tariffs are hitting me, like Trump's administration in general has hit me. Like I do a lot of SBA loans for my construction on my buildings, and they just imposed a 2% fee that used to be the lender could waive. Well, 2%, on a $5 million project, that's $100,000.
Whole lot of cheddar.
So it's a little bit of pain there. The tariffs, driving my construction costs. If you're in construction, generally there's going to be escalation clauses in contracts where if the subcontractors' material costs go up, they can renegotiate their contract. Yeah. And I started this project before the tariffs, or even before Trump became president. Yeah. And so I had a lot of contracts in place. And as soon as these tariffs hit, I started getting phone calls. Hey, the coils inside these HVAC units are going up, or the cost of rebar is going to go up. Yeah. And
Get ready.
Yeah, so
for kind of stuff.
For me, I paused. I'm secured the land. I'm pausing on construction to let things settle a little bit. But at the same time, I'm still in support of it. It is going to be some short-term pain, but long-term, something had to be done. I think it's a bold move, and I think Trump's probably the only person that has the balls to do it.
I absolutely agree.
But I think the leverage is in our favor. Everybody says, man, we rely so much on China, and we do, for sure. However, they rely on us. Their whole economy is built off supply, if for the world, but $1 out of every $3 in China, it comes from the United States. Yeah. And so they're saying, while it's going to be inconvenient for us, like you and I are feeling a little bit of pressure, a little bit of financial pressure, things on Amazon are going to go up. It's going to be inconvenient for us. It's going to be life and death for the Chinese. Their factories are shutting down. I used to go to China once a year because I work with some manufacturers over there.
Yeah, I've been there too. It's an amazing place.
It is, and you go in these.
People there are amazing. It's what a crazy cool culture.
Oh, they treat you like you're a king. The thing, one thing about that, when I go there, I would work with multiple suppliers. one would pick me up from the airport, take me to a hotel they paid for, take me to dinner, show me the warehouses, then drive me to the next vendor. And then when we would do business together, they would communicate and put things in a container. If there wasn't a full container, they'd share a container. That never would happen in the U.S., right? So they do good business in certain regards, but I also think that they have and I think it's probably due to, our former presidents allowing us to get the underhand on certain deals. Like it's just not in our favor.
Kickbacks and money plays, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit of a history nerd.
Is that right?
Because it's always played me well in business too.
Sure.
Cyclical things repeat themselves, and as you look at it, but I've studied China, and it's an amazing country. The culture's amazing. The things they've invented. If you go pre-communism China, had communism not come into China, they would have by far been the biggest world power, and in a positive way. The pre-Mao type of stuff. But you look at the Chinese, they have a big problem. They don't have their own natural resources. They don't have their own fuel. They can't make their own food. So they're reliant, which is what makes them aggressive. They're reliant on other people's fuel. They're reliant on other people's food. And now they have an aging population, which is a huge problem over there. They made a massive mistake. They're already having a problem, but they made a mistake with the
one child family.
That was, talk about a death sentence. There's a lot of people that are smarter than I am that I've studied and been able to talk to that said their culture is in big trouble because there's not enough young people to supply the money and the financial resource to run the country as an aging population.
Yeah, I think I read, and don't quote me on this, but I think like 2027, their military age men drops off by like 30 or 40% due to that one child policy. So, that was. I have friends in the military saying if they were going to try and wage war, they're going to do it no later than 2027. But I don't know. In my opinion, I get the tariffs. I understand to a degree. We have the leverage. It needs to be done. I think Trump kind of went after everybody and then isolated China. I think that was by design. I think, even as recently as a couple of days ago, I think they're starting to discuss things. In my opinion, if we could just go, everybody pays a 10% and just let free trade happen. That's what it needs to be.
Even playing field.
Yeah, let us do business. Let the governments get their take. But come on, like they got 145% tariffs, 245% on certain things. Nobody's doing business there. Yeah. You can't.
Yeah.
And the domestic market in China is nothing. Those people aren't consumers of their own products. Not the majority of them. Maybe iPhones. You know, but they can't turn.
They have their own phone there too. That's not. I can't think of what it's called. They literally have an iPhone, their own phone there that works on their internet, their internal system because they're on their different internet, different system, different social media.
I didn't
platforms.
know that. I know when I was there, I had to be on a VPN.
Yeah,
which is illegal.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have it.
Oh, yeah.
But I couldn't access anything, so I was on a VPN. You can get in trouble, especially if you're a local and you have a VPN.
Yeah, I remember. So you go to Hong Kong, which Hong Kong's my favorite. I don't like big cities usually anyway. Hong Kong is my favorite city, though. It's clean, it's safe, it's beautiful, it's super luxury, too. But that's not China. I mean, it's China light. Like it's like saying, England is all just London kind of deal. But when I went from Hong Kong into actual China and saw the internals of China, that's when I was really super impressed. We got to stay at we got to visit the Emperor's Palace, and we got to the Forbidden City, Forbidden City. But the Emperor's Summer Palace, through a friend of mine that does business here in the United States and in United States, Panama, and China. We got to stay at the Emperor's Summer Palace. They had like a hotel-ish kind of setup in there. It is the most amazing place. And I was able to take my girls when they were younger. What an amazing lesson. Like we go see the Great Wall of China. It actually pissed me off. I'm like, this thing's thousands of years old. It's still there. It'll be there 1,000 years from now, and I can't get a roof to last 15 years on my car dealership. These guys, it's just the technology and the way they built things back then, and their culture was. I was just so beyond impressed with their culture. So it's such a different deal to be there and hear the Chinese, the bad guys over there, but then to meet the people and see. Sure. I mean, if you think, they invented typewriting thousands of years. They were the first ones to do geology, the first one to do mapping of the country. They were the gunpowder is the one we all know, but it's such a cool culture. And then to have this dynamic where the communism comes in and just crushes.
Well, I think that's kind of killed their, ingenuity as well. They're not they still could develop a lot of technology, right? But not like they used to. Now that, they're known for stealing patent stuff like that and pumping that out. But for me, it's kind of too bad because I have personal relationships with some people over there, and the government's like, oh, we're standing strong to the death. And it's like the people are the ones suffering. They're the ones that these factories that you could go in could barely talk because there was so much going on. There's hardly anybody in them. You know what I mean? The ports are stacked full of containers that nobody's willing to accept, so they won't ship them out. So I don't think that China can last even more than 6 months. So I think that we're going to see a resolution, at least in there, to a degree. But
I hope so. She's a little isolated. Their president, he's
kind of an echo chamber.
I mean, people just disappear if you watch it. Like, if you don't agree with him, like, are you going to tell your boss if he either throws you out or throws you in a cell or you disappear?
Right.
Like, you got bad news you're going to bring it to him? Hell no. So he scares me a little bit just as far as what information he's getting. But I think you're right. It's got to change. Otherwise,
they can't
he's
sustain
destroying
it.
his whole country.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, they say, oh, we're not going to sell rare earth minerals anymore. And it's like, rare earth minerals aren't really that rare. I think that's what they called them initially when they labeled it. But from my understanding, you can go dig a hole in your backyard and pull up rare earth minerals. So the benefit to us is they're really dirty to refine. And so we let China do that, and then we take the import.
Yeah,
but
like the lithium and some of the battery stuff that's just nasty. The mining of it's horrible.
Yeah, and their policies are so laxed over there. China, for me, when I went the first time, I was so surprised with how different the regions are. There's mountainous areas, it's heavily wooded, really lush, and then you go to some of the lowlands, down where they do a lot of. I went all over, just kind of train hop the whole way from top to bottom both times, and I mean, Hong Kong is great, Shanghai is great, but I also went to like Shandong, and or Shandong, and that's where they're producing a ton of stuff. And I mean, it was cloudy one day just due to pollution.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I saw that when I was there too.
It's like it's kind of gross to a degree.
They said they're working on that. I hopefully, because they're the largest. Well, them and India are the largest polluters. Largest polluter of the ocean is India, but between the two of them, they kind of take the majority of the nightmare of pollution.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to spend our whole time talking about China, but it's something that I think about a lot.
Yeah.
And I know you have to deal with it too, so I want to bring it up. Yeah. But hopefully
I have some
we get that
business
sorted
in Indonesia,
out.
which is there's a lot of Chinese. To your point, a lot of that entrepreneurship and stuff, they left China and went to other parts of Asia.
Okay.
And so with Indonesia, there's a lot of Chinese base in Indonesia. And so I do a lot of business with my botanical company. And so I've seen a lot of the differences. And there's tariffs in there too. It's not, the percentage is kind of like the rest of the world. And it's money well spent to stabilize the economy, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of shift over to India.
Yeah, India and Indonesia India's big. There's everything in India. There's a lot of people, a lot of manpower.
Yeah.
I've from the supplement. I got into the supplement world. And
tell me about that too.
It is, holy shit, scares me. It is the dirty. Like, I got into things. I'm like, there's no way these are big companies doing this. Like,
so you're testing your product,
I test everything,
and you have to stop production on it.
So we were bringing in from India. One of the supplements we work with is Kratom, Kratom, and Kratom is a plant. It's in the same family as the coffee leaf.
Okay.
And Kratom it's actually a tree, and it grows around Asia, but Indonesia is where we get it. We have the good relationship with the government in Indonesia. But initially, I partnered with a friend of mine, Todd Underwood, and who knows the industry really well, and we started a company called Mitt Wellness.
Mitt Wellness.
MIT. Yeah. Yep. MIT. Mitragenous is the scientific name for Kratom.
Okay.
The plant.
Got it.
And it has. And I'll back up how I got there, because I'm sure, like you, I have somebody that comes in my office all the time with the next greatest idea, like once a week, like, hey, look at this new widget. Go make it. Go sell a company. And I'm like, no.
Right.
This is the easy part. The widget was the easy part. Now scale it. Now fund it. Now build a sales team. Now motivate the sales team. Now cash flow it. All that stuff.
Right.
But Todd has muscular dystrophy, and has since he was his teens, and he's controlled it well. He's healthy, but he's been on painkillers just to survive. I mean, the guy was eating like 20 Percocets a day. I mean, I'm sure he was addicted, but it was to manage the pain. And his doctor went to him and said, hey, listen, you're doing good with your muscular dystrophy, but you're going to painkiller's going to kill you. You're going to die. So your choice is lay around in pain all day long and die, or and live longer, or keep taking the pain pills and die. And he didn't really like either answer. So he found Kratom in its raw form, and he was in the CBD, that alternative space as a CFO for a company. I think it was CFO. So he understood that industry, and he found Kratom in its raw form and used it himself to get off of opioids. And it was such a massive response for him. So he was able to use it to not only fight the pain, to use it to replace the opioids for his pain, but also to get over the addiction part of it, the physical addiction of opioids. Kratom, it works on the same receptors as an opioid. So it's an all-natural alternative,
right,
is what he used it for, right? And he came to me and said, man, I think there's something to this. He goes, I really want to make it. He goes, we can make a difference,
nice,
change people's lives. And so I got interested, and it's a pretty good-sized business. We work with a lot of different botanical products, but it's cool.
So tell
business.
me, you shared some of the products with me.
Yeah.
I took them. We came back. I think we were working out, or we were in the gym, whatever. And I told you, I was like, man, because I've taken like oxytocin or something from back in the day, whenever doctor.
Yeah.
And when I took the Kratom, it almost had a similar effect, or how I felt, like that feeling.
It
and
is.
I told you about that, but what you were telling me that it's the receptors interpret Kratom differently than a true opioid, and you can't overdo it, right? Tell me a little bit about that.
My layman's version of being able to explain it anyway is like a receptor for an opioid. Once you hit it, that receptor is always tuned to that opioid.
Okay,
that's one thing. That's why it's so addictive. You'll always have an affinity for opioids once you've taken them. And obviously, the more of the opioids you take, the more it says, the more it gives me, the more of the effects you get. So that same effect when you've taken an opioid, when you first take it, you're kind of like, man, I feel kind of awake, and you're like, man, I feel good. It's euphoric.
Yeah.
And then the messed up part hits. Well, Kratom is basically sits on the receptor. It's bigger. So as you take more of it, you don't get more of that euphoric effect. So you get the euphoric, you get the awake effect. But if you take more, so that's why it works good with people that are trying to get off of an addiction to something heavier, because you don't take it to get messed up. Right. You take it and you get that initial thing, but more of it doesn't give you more of that effect.
Nice.
And there's no LDA. LDA is a lethal dose amount. So they've done lots of studies. We've seen the same studies they did with OxyContin and stuff like that with the rats. And the study we have, 1,000 times that you could put in your body didn't affect the hearts or the lungs of the rats. So which is crazy. Almost everything has a lethal dose amount, right? You can overdose on caffeine. Most things that aren't foods, you can overdose on. So it's a much safer alternative. And also, what I was telling you about how you always have an affinity for an opioid. Kratom can be addictive, very similar to caffeine. It's not caffeine, but kind of similar how it's in the same family as the coffee leaf. The receptor, mu receptor, I think it is, it has like a 3 to 5 day affinity, right? So you can take it. So I wouldn't tell people to, hey, take Kratom and it's not addictive, but it's addictive very similar to caffeine. And my personal take, like if you're a caffeine person,
sure,
and for a year you drink 2 cups of coffee for a year and you quit drinking coffee, you're going to be like, I feel like crap. You're going to have, feel crap for a day or two. I'd say it's very similar to that.
I hear you. It's nice though, I guess, for somebody who has an addiction, especially if it was the opioids, because they're going to be prone to overdoing it.
Sure.
You get, one's good, let's two's better.
Yeah.
And that's how overdoses happen. So that with Kratom, that's just not possible.
Yeah, you're not going to overdose on it.
Nice.
If you just drank a whole bunch of it, just make you sick to your stomach.
Okay.
And there's a lot of anecdotal. It's not medicine, so I can't say it fixes pain. It does it. But it worked with my business partner, and it worked with it. But one of the other big uses for it is, and where we're really going with it, is a pre-workout, and then also is an alcohol replacement. Because we take Kratom. Have you ever heard of kava? The kava root. It's big in Hawaii. It's a Fijian root. It's a big part of their culture. It's been there hundreds and hundreds of years. But you'll go around, especially like Florida or California. They have them here in town too. They're kava bars, where instead of alcohol they serve kava. Yeah, and it's kind of it's a rooty tasting. And we make a drink that's kava and Kratom together, and it looks like kind of like a High Noon kind of can, a little fizzy in it, tastes good. So instead of that, so if you want kind of that social lubrication, but all the reasons not to drink alcohol,
right?
It's a Wednesday night, you want to go out with your buddies, but I don't want to drink, or I got to drive, or
I mean, I'm not against alcohol
healthy
by any means. I just don't partake very often.
Yeah.
I may have a glass of wine, or every now and then if celebrate a win or celebrate a person, one of my friends, maybe. But it's just the effect of it on me later. It's I'm trying to be as healthy as possible, get as fit as possible, put on as much muscle as possible.
There's a lot of reasons not to drink alcohol.
Yeah, and I get 100%. Yeah, so I like the Kratom. You've given me a couple, and I got me a couple more. I dig it. It's a different feeling. You don't feel out of control.
Yeah,
you just feel kind of chilled out.
And that the industry too, with the alcohol free, it's just kind of the next generation, right? Gen Z, Generation 2, is much more. They're taking in less alcohol. Period. They're drinking less, and so this is something that they can have some of that social benefits from. I mean, there's tons. You're seeing bars all around the country popping up. They're bars, but don't serve alcohol. So this is a perfect fit for type that and a healthier alternative. It doesn't. You don't have to do a lot to be healthier than alcohol, which is not saying a lot. Healthier than alcohol, but it is. It's a much healthier alternative.
Okay.
Than to drinking.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of different businesses. The Vin Solutions was something that you guys created and sold, right?
Yeah. So I had Vin Solutions was great. So I was after college. I went and worked at another dealership in Omaha, Nebraska, to kind of learn my way around the car business outside the family business that I grew up in. It was kind of one of those things. Anybody can sell a car when your name's on the building.
Sure.
And I needed to go somewhere outside my bubble to kind of learn.
Blaze your own trail a little bit.
And to learn different ways to do it. I mean, there were some things that I saw that they did better, some things that we did better. So it was good lessons that I learned. But I came back and was working at the dealership and working my way around the dealership. Wasn't a huge dealership. My dad was very successful with it, but it wasn't a very really big dealership. And so as I learned my way around it, assistant sales manager, general sales manager, service manager, which is where I learned what I really did for a living, right? It's kind of like anybody's nice to you when you want to buy a car. It's whether they're there when you need them or not, which is service, like when your car breaks down. That's what you need. So if I take care of people in service, that's how I satisfy customers. That's why people come back and buy cars. It's a little bit chicken before the egg. I got to sell you the car first, but but really I learned what we do for a living is service customers, and that starts in the service department in the body shop. But I'm coming back to what the Vin Solutions. So I saw a need at our dealership for a CRM, a way to communicate with the customers and have that relevant communication. Because you've been to car dealership sales departments turnover a lot, and a lot of people just have the relationship with the salesperson. And if you're one of my customers, you have the relationship with Clark at the dealership, and he leaves. That was your relationship.
Right.
Then you feel like you had to come back in and be like, I bought 4 cars here before. I'm coming for service. You know how you give that speech people would have to give? So we needed a tool, and we couldn't find one. So a buddy of mine named Mike DeLay, who was not automotive before this, he was in the tech a little bit, but he just worked a dealership for a little while and saw the same kind of need I did. So it was me, Mike, one employee, a little $500 a month rent in a little office in North Kansas City. No idea how we're going to pay that employer, pay that rent. And 5 years later, we have 300 employees and over 3,000 dealers on a SaaS model because we wrote a CRM, automotive specific. Are you familiar with Salesforce? Most people know Salesforce. They're the juggernaut in the industry. They're kind of agnostic. We wrote a automotive specific Salesforce just for the automotive vertical. So allow people to put your customer. So in your case, you came and bought a car, all your information, the car, all the communications, you'd called in, you'd emailed, you'd text, all that stuff is in there. So the next time you called in, you don't have to give that big speech. I know, oh, hey, Matt, I'm calling about my truck. Are you calling about your trimmer? Are you calling about your wife's Explorer? It's all there. So and when I'm following up, it's not that the car business is notorious for the terrible follow-up. It's like a rainy Tuesday. Hit the phones, fellas. And you just start calling people, hey, man, you bought a truck once. You want another one? Right? People hate that. That's why it gives the car business such a bad reputation. That way, we can just communicate with people when it's a relevant conversation. Okay. So Vin Solutions is what that was. I saw a need, and I figured if I needed it, everybody else would. So that's why we had the 3,000. Then we sold to AutoTrader in 2011. we sold to Auto Trader, which is owned by Cox Communications, like the big.
Is that right?
juggernaut.
I didn't know that.
The mothership is Cox, and we did good, and then we had an earn-out for a year. Mike stayed on. Earn-out. So basically, a lot of these companies, when you sell a big company, they give you they give you 150 million, and they have the rest of it comes if you hit the number you're going to say. When somebody comes to buy your company, right? They'll come in and you'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to make this much in 2 years." You're like, okay, all right. Here's what I'm going to pay you for your company, but you better hit that. You're going to stay on and make sure you hit that number in 2 years. Smart. If you don't, I'm not paying you the rest. So they call it an earn-out. So Mike stayed on, and we rocked the earn-out. He did a great job.
So you and Mike started with a $500 a month
place
rent, in North Kansas City.
Old Pony Express, literally a Pony Express, like where they tie up the horses deal. The pole was still out there, made a big deal out of it. We picked it because it was such an old building, and there was multiple people in there. They couldn't break away the water, electric, and air conditioning bill because there was no way to break it out. We're like, all right, so we don't have to pay that bill.
That's awesome. Then you sold for $150 million.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. We've done, Mike and I have built and sold a couple more software companies since then.
Nice. So of all the companies, the Kratom, the tech, the dealerships, what do you think, what's been the biggest, granted, I know there's many, I know because I own businesses, what's been the biggest problem you've had to encounter that you thought, this is it, this is going to take us down, and how did you get through it?
The biggest was the unplanned one. I'm a pilot, right? And pilots work with checklists. So in my cockpit, I have a backup plan for my backup plan's backup plan.
Okay.
And they're all written down, and I practiced them all, right? And that's just part of being a good pilot. So I run my office the way I run my cockpit. So I tell you that because in comes COVID, right? And nowhere in there did I have a plan that says the government's just going to reach in and shut down the engine going down the highway at 80 miles an hour. And so I freaked out. I didn't know. We all did, right? Everybody did. And it was a very pivotal moment for a lot of people. And I said, I don't know. I had to lay people off. It was
at the dealership
worst day of my life. I had 156
board.
Employees at a company at Auto Alert. We had to lay a bunch of people off, which is another automotive tech company that Mike was the CEO of, that was partners in. And at the dealership specifically, we had to lay off we were just at 58 people, which I felt 100% responsible. Their job's to come in, satisfy customers, work on vehicles, clean the dealership, clean the car, whatever their job was. That's what I counted on them for. Mm-hmm. What they counted for me was to make sure that job was still there, and I felt like I failed. It hit me really hard, and it was probably like 4 days after I laid everybody off that I was just with no plan, and I just kind of had a moment where I realized COVID's going to change everything, and you're going to end up as one or two things after COVID, right? You're going to have people that come in. You're going to have people that are winners from it, right? And you're going to have people with the excuses. So do you want to be a victim? Is the word I was looking for. Mm-hmm. So you're either a victim or a winner. There's no in betweens. Nobody was the same during COVID. And so what happened was it was I say easy to be a victim, but everyone understood. If you shut your restaurants, a lot of them did. You're like, oh man, I was doing great. Things are rocking. And COVID, no one would think, oh, you're an idiot. Yeah, it's tough, man. I get it. You understand it. So it was a kind of a built-in excuse for people, right? It was like, oh, COVID, or you just kicked ass and you had to be a winner. So I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, what's the difference if the bank comes and takes, if I owe them $8 million or if I owe them $15 million? They're taking it all anyway. What do I care? So we went all in during COVID. And I sat the team down and I told them, I said, do we want to be victims or do we want to be winners? Those are the only two buckets that are going to exist. I said, so let's swing. And it was really a pivotal moment for me and my team. I hired back everyone that wanted to come back. I hired back, I think it was like 55 of the 58 employees came back within 2 months, which was important to me. But that was really a pivotal moment because I didn't have a plan. The guy that always has a plan runs into something he didn't plan for, and it's a shock. Yeah. Right? So that was a game changer for me.
Yeah, I think it was for pretty much everybody. And I think that you're right. I think there was a lot of companies or a lot of small businesses or even mom and pops that were on the edge of going out anyways, and that
Yeah.
took them out. And it
Accelerated
kind
some
of gave
stuff.
them COVID. However, I think the ones who made it through adapted, and I would say for at least my businesses, I feel like we were better afterwards.
Yeah,
even
you're a
though,
winner.
yeah, if you can survive it, you can maintain, then you're going to be better. But it kind of cleared the herd for sure.
It did. It did. So that was a big personal growth moment and business lesson for sure.
You talk about, you have a lot of different employees, some which are sales, some which are managers. What are you looking for when you hiring a leadership position? Like and maybe at this point, you're probably not the one doing those interviews, but I'm sure some high level stuff you're involved with bringing.
No,
those
leaders
guys on.
is important. And I'll tell you why, because I enjoy building leaders. Like if you ask me today, what I really enjoy about the business, because I have multiple businesses, multiple ventures, and what am I doing? Is building leaders. I just get personal satisfaction out of that. Taking somebody and really helping them go down and to lead and to flourish. And people helping people is very satisfying. It is for me, and I think it is for a lot of people. I think all great leaders feel that way. So to build leaders is awesome, because I love it when I get a guy going, he's not sure, and I push him out of his comfort zone, and I know he can do it, and or she can do it, and they move forward and succeed. It's awesome. And another thing, the big one is life lessons. I think I was lucky as far as mentally. I never mind failing. That sounds stupid, but I mean, I never felt shame in the business world over failing. I'm like, if I screwed up, that was naturally, I know I'm going to fall down. I just have to get up more times than I fell down. It's like fail, win. Fail, win. As long as your wins outlevel your fails, the size of your wins. Because I fail more and I think everybody does in business. You fail more in wins. I mean, in the sales business, I'll tell you, an easy example. I tell my sales team, I said, hey, a great sales guy in the car business, a great sales guy, he sells 30% of the people he talks to a car. That's 30% close. That means 7 times out of 10 you fail. What's crazy, that's a car dealership. Most people don't walk into a car dealership just to trick around a car salesman. Most of them are there to buy a car. It's just whether we screw it up while they're there or not. Like, we have to help them overcome their own objections.
Right.
It's not. That's why I teach my guys, you're not selling people cars. They're here to buy a car.
Yeah.
Just help them overcome their objections. Yeah, it is the same
They're
thing.
asking to be
They
sold.
didn't walk in like, you know what'll be fun? I'm gonna go sit down and jerk this guy around for an hour. Like, no, they came to get a gym membership, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing, and it's all that that growth type mentality that goes with it.
Yeah, and I think the sooner you can realize to not take shame from your failures, the better off you are mentally. I mean, for me, and timing too. You got to know when you can absorb a loss. And for me, I struggled with my losses for sure, but it was internal. Nobody else knew about it. And now I understand it's just part of the process, so I can handle it a little better. But I think you can't let it just shut you down. And so this is a good segue into my next question for you. How do you determine when, and what's your approach to risk?
I lean pretty heavy into risk, as all of us business owners do. So I diversify to offset risk. So if you look at my investment portfolio, it's much lower risk than my business, because I take it all in the business, the risk is. So it's very high. I'm always swinging for the fences, because I am better offensively than I am defensively.
Yeah, same.
Right. So really my risk portfolio is pretty high risk in new ventures. What's the failure rate of a startup's like 98%?
Yeah, it's high.
And I've failed.
Sure.
Yeah, I've had some crash and burns in different industries and too. But if you never give up, you never fail. And I was going to tell you one important thing that I teach my leaders that I think is a huge thing. That's one of the best things, and I do it myself too. It's when you screw up and you fail or have a loss, hang it on the wall for everybody to see. So when you screw it up, if you go, yeah, you don't hide it. Because like you said early on, you were hiding them, right? As we all did.
Didn't necessarily hide it. I've always been solo for the
Yeah,
most
oh, yeah,
part.
you're the one-man
so,
show.
like, I just never voiced it to anybody else. But yeah,
So
I
would
guess that's
I would
heightened to a
recommend
degree.
voicing it, even if it's to somebody that doesn't matter, just somebody in your world that is important to you, that lets you maybe not in the business. So, but for multiple reasons, if you hang it on the wall, it's right there. You're less likely to make the mistake again. And once it's on the wall, it's real, right? If it's in your head, I always say there's no law of gravity in your head. You can change it more. Well, I didn't really lose there. I just kind of lost. I almost had it. You do all that but stuff. But the other deal, when you get in companies that are as big as mine, you have that infrastructure of managers, assistant managers, and stuff. If you hang it on the wall, right, everybody can see it. They can't use it against you.
Well, and they can learn from it.
Yeah, and so you'll see as you go into these managers meetings. Sometimes I'll be in companies when not everybody's there on the same team. I mean, they're there, but you got one manager that's waiting to attack just that corporate America nightmare part of it, like, right? And so if you did something, you screwed up, and you're like, oh man, nobody saw that, and you're embarrassed, and you're hiding it, right? Somebody always sees it, by the way, right? And one of the other managers can use it against you, or another employee. You could be in a meeting. It's got nothing to do with what's going on in the meeting, but they're mad at you.
Right.
They can be like, oh yeah? Well, Matt, I saw you do that. So there, like in front of the boss. That happens all over the place in corporate America, and it's very stifling to a business and the communication of a business. But like, oh yeah, Matt, you did that. And if you're like, you mean that? And
Right.
all your people that work for all your employees saw where you screwed it up, that you hung on the wall. Yeah, it takes all the power from it. So it was one of, and I think it's also very cleansing to do it. I mean, I think it also helps relieve some of the stress of that kind of stuff. But that's a big thing I teach my leader. You're not perfect. You're not going to screw up. You're not better than the people that work for you. And I promise they see when you screw up, they see it. Whether they say it or not,
Right.
they don't. But if you hang on the wall and be like, oh, that was me. I don't know what I was doing. Guys, I've told you all 10 times not to do that. And look, I just did it. Now you know why I say not to do it, right?
Yeah, and I think kind of what I was thinking about myself was a little more high level and early on, but I'm to the point now, especially with my managers, I'll take full responsibility for a problem, even if even if it's not totally my full responsibility.
It's still your problem. It's you own the business, right?
Right. So I'll do that because I want them to do that, and they're going to fall in line with basically how you lead. They're going to they're going to mirror you ideally, and so. Because I want them to take full responsibility. The problem was when somebody doesn't take full responsibility, you can't really do anything from there. If somebody won't admit that it was their lack of effort that didn't get this done or work ethic, what do you do from that point? You can't really train them out of that. Once they accept, like, hey, yeah, I knew this deadline was coming up and I just didn't do it. I'm not going to let that happen again. Then we can build from there. But if you're telling me like, yeah, I don't know. I'm only as good as the team that I'm leading, and they didn't do their job. I can't do anything with you, and you're so much quicker to be out the door if we can't work through the problem, identify why it was a problem, and just make sure that we're going to make progress from it. Yeah. Most of my guys can do that. I've had some staff in the past that just couldn't. I'm like, you're just tying my hands. I love having you around. I personally really care about you, but if you can't accept responsibility for a problem, we don't have anywhere else to go with you, And so I think it's super important to take responsibility, take full responsibility. And I think that's generally the people you are building as leaders respect that, and they'll do the same.
Yeah, I think so. And what I've learned and what I've taught my guys, we're all going to still, the one thing's for sure is that we're going to screw it up no matter what we do. But I've taught the guys that nobody gets punched in the face when they make a mistake. And what I mean that is I expect you to fail and make mistakes. Matter of fact, if you're not making mistakes, I know we're missing something.
Yeah.
We're all making mistakes somewhere along the line. But when they do it, and what I tell people, I never get mad when people make a mistake. I get mad when they make a mistake and I don't know about it. Right? And that comes back to measurement and accountability. And I learned this lesson from Jimmy John, the sandwich guy. So Jimmy's a good friend of mine, and I sat on his board of directors for a short time and learned a lot about his business. And it's a phenomenal model. His process and procedure is tighter than any business and any vertical I've ever seen ever. He's an amazing operator when it comes to process and procedure. But when you're doing checks and balances with everybody, what I've found with my employees, some of them will expect, a lot of them will expect you to check it every time. So they do something 5 times right, and 1 time wrong. They look around. You didn't see it. Okay. 2 times to do it right, no times to do it wrong. Like, Matt's not really paying attention because they didn't see it But if you say you're going to audit them, it's just a little change in verbiage.
Yeah.
I'm going to audit you. Well, an audit means, okay, he's not going to check me every time, right? But you're going to dip in and check.
Yeah.
That's where the kind of training moment went. And they're not like, when I switched to that, what happened is the guys that were like, well, Matt did that 10 times and you didn't say anything. Why are you saying it to me? Or like, I've done it the last 5 times that way, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't catch me those 5 times. They don't say that, but you're like, you didn't say anything. It's just the way we're doing it now, boss. Versus if it's an audit, that makes more sense to them. They're like, oh, we're getting checked now.
Right.
Checked every time. It's that, And again, that falls under trust but verify too. If you're going to check, which you can't check everybody's job every time anyway.
Right.
But in their head, if they get away with it, then you as a manager weren't doing a good job. So that has been a great management tool for me, and I train my leaders to use that skill set, and I think we do a pretty good job at the stuff. It's been very successful at the Ford dealership. I've diversified to multiple dealerships in multiple states now. I partnered with a good friend of mine, the guy that I was talking about earlier that drives the Nitro Funny car, Bob Tasca. They're a famous car family from the East Coast, Rhode Island. They've got dealerships all around the country now too. So Bob and I have been business partners forever. We've been friends for years and years. And like I said, I sponsored his Nitro Funny car, and he's racing today. Oh, wow. But Bob came in and partnered, and he bought Mike DeLay that I was telling you about. Mike was partners with me when I bought my dad out in 2011. Mike bought in a small percentage. I bought Mike out and sold some to Bob, and then I bought into Bob's business, and then we bought dealerships together. Right, so that's kind of my current structure. I wanted to expand my dealership footprint. I went passive on most all of my, either sold or went passive on almost all my other companies' investments, except for that, and then Mitt Wellness, the botanical company is that's kind of gave me my startup happy pill. Right, got me excited to keep my startup piece in it. But with all the pieces that Bob and I partnered, the Ford store has been uber, the Kansas City Ford store, Gary Crossley Ford has been uber successful. So we're number one in the state. Right now we're top 50. There's 3,000 dealerships in the United States. We're in the top 50 in the country. And Ford measures the top 100 is a big deal because that's less than a couple percent, right, of the top couple percent that does it. And what you're talking about, the Triple Crown Award, which is all about customer service and sales volume. So it's a really big store, and what I told you earlier was a very competitive market, and it's because of that skill set of those teams and the leaders. I've got a lot of 25-year veterans in the business. I do a quarterly luncheon where I take everybody that's been at the dealership more than 5 years, and then that's their anniversary month. They go to lunch with me and Terry Miller, my general manager, and that runs the dealership. And we'll take them to lunch. What's funny is there's 30, 40 people in those lunches now because everybody's been there over 5 years.
That's awesome.
So it's cool. I mean, you're constantly, just like your business, you're constantly hiring and rehiring, but I have it's odd for my industry to have the kind of tenure that we have. And I think it's all the things that I was talking about with those training models and building leaders. And it's why that store's so successful versus some of the other businesses in the market.
Yeah, it makes sense. So what would you say to an entrepreneur that's green, coming out, maybe he's out of college? What would you say, just getting started, if you could give advice to him, what would it be?
Back to you're going to fail. Don't be embarrassed by failure. Fail forward. Just keep going, because you don't lose till you stop.
Right.
That's what I said. I'll never lose because I'm not going to stop. You got to be a little miswired because I know you got it too. You got to have that crazy gene a little bit to do it because when everything tells you to stop and everybody else would have stopped, you keep going. That's why you're still in business.
Yeah.
Because why did 9 out of 10 gyms go out of business? Because they stopped. Why are you still in business and expanding? Because there's something wrong with you. You're miswired a little bit, right?
Yeah,
you gotta have that. You got to have that gene.
That.
So I would tell them, very much so. Don't worry about you're gonna fail. If every time you lose, it just crushes you. It's not entrepreneurship and owning a business is not for you.
Yeah.
And the second is the difference between profit and cash flow. I find so many people that just look at the bank account and go, "Oh, look, I got $100,000 in the bank, so I'm profitable." Right? No, the cash in the bank and the profit are not related. There's no correlation between cash and profit.
Yeah.
You could have $200,000 in outstanding debt that you haven't paid out, or loans that are out, or you could have $1 million in the bank and lost $100,000 that month.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no correlation with those two. Just to learn that cash is a tool. You need to measure it just what you need it for the business, but the profit's a separate animal. So it's a hard notion for people to wrap their heads around, and it's one of those things like if you tell me what to take in college, I'd say don't worry about marketing, don't worry about all that. So I say take accounting and take finance and real estate. Truthfully, there's a lot of colleges doing real estate degrees. That's what I recommended for my daughter that's getting into business. She's in the Neely business program down at TCU, which is top 5 business schools in the country. It's awesome that she even got in there. I mean, super proud of her. But I told her finance, accounting, I can teach you sales. Right? We can teach you marketing. AI is changing the game for everybody in both those spaces, but you always gonna have some understanding of law because it's everywhere. But every business owner, you run a real estate. At some point or another, you need to learn that. But it's finance and accounting. If you can do finance and accounting, you're good. So that's the kind of the long answer.
No, I think it's really good.
What I tell people.
I get a lot of guys that come to me asking me that question about because a startup. And I think one variable that a lot of people miss, and I know I did early on, was it's one thing to have a business plan and to figure out your markers where you set your goals, but a lot of people miss is they don't consider operating capital until cash flow positive. There's a lot of guys that, hey, this building is going to cost me X amount a month. Mm-hmm. The equipment I need is this much. If we can do 100 orders per month, and we should be able to do that in 6 months, we'll be profitable. Okay, but who's going to pay your staff until then? And that's tough. And so that's a missing piece. And for whatever reason, early on, the banks never asked me what I need. And they don't like to lend operating capital because there's nothing to tie it to, right?
I got a lot of lessons my dad taught me. Have a personal relationship with a banker and have more than one banker.
100%.
Because they don't know.
If
they knew what you knew, they'd be out doing what you're doing. I'm not saying bankers are stupid. They're good at they're good at what they do, but they don't understand that business aspect.
I think
so. For that reason, don't ask the banker how to run your business. Ask him how to borrow money, but don't ask him how to run your business.
Yeah, I think with the operating capital, people are over ambitious. They think they're going to cash flow sooner than they are. So be conservative when you're building that number, guys. Make sure you can pay to stay afloat because there's a lot of companies that could have been great.
Yeah.
But they couldn't sustain themselves to a cash flow positive.
Dude, I bought them. That's
exactly.
My favorite
guys
business.
Like you step in.
A guy with a great idea and a great plan and a great team. He just ran out of money.
Yeah, and it's a great time to absorb a company. The hard work's done.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it just needs that cash injection to get rolling.
It happens to a lot of guys. The other thing is that I'm a bootstrap guy. Like Vin Solutions was a total bootstrap company. Like no one loaned us any money. Like I put in the money. I was the money guy, right? And I didn't have a lot of money to put in then. Mm-hmm. But it was like $150,000, and that was all the capital we had until almost a year before we sold. But also think about it. This is 2007. I am a software company that does startup in automotive. Right, this is right before the crash, and this is during the crash. Dude, bankers are jumping out of windows to get away from me. I didn't have an option. No one was going to loan us money. So we had to completely bootstrap it. And I think that's the strongest way. You see so many guys that become experts on capital raises and going and do these seed runs and these fundraisers, which, okay, I get it. But as far as a strong business and one of the ones that wins and survives, it's the bootstrap guy that does it and does it. I'm partners in a business called Good Boy Vodka. It's a vodka company. Most people would know it's a great brand. A young kid, Alex Pratt, started the business, hustled it all on his own. He's kind of did it the wrong way because no one told him, and it's been super successful for him. So I invested with Alex because he was very much bootstrapped. He could have gone out to the VC guys and dumped a bunch of money in, but you would know him, the John Daly, the golfer John Daly. Mm-hmm. So we partnered with John Daly. We make a drink called the John Daly, an RTD, a ready to drink. It's like called the John Daly. John Daly makes money off every can that we sell of the Good Boy Vodka. So it's and we have a tequila drinks and a couple of drinks, but Good Boy Vodka, it's really a beverage company now. Good Boy Beverage because we work with different, not just vodkas. But he's very much an example of the bootstrap. He had that same mentality, and it's why I invested with him. So instead of going to the market, he went to a couple of key guys, investors like me, and said, "Hey, I want some money, but I want some resources. I want some help." Todd, I know you've seen the $1 million holes that I can't see yet stop me from falling in them. So it's a very sharp thing, but it all goes back to that my bootstrap when I tell people how to do it. I think you go to other investors, you'll be guys that are experts on, how to go and get seed capital and work with, different seed companies and angel investors. Right. That's the way to do it. That's not the way I did it. I don't. Yeah, when I look at it, it doesn't seem the most successful way to do it.
I think because I've been down that road too, and I think that it's peace of mind early on. It's a sense of relief. However, right, but long term, a lot of people regret it. You know what I'm saying? So, if you can get through the early stages with limited involvement from others, like angel investors, stuff like that, you're going to be better off long term for sure. But some people, it depends on what your needs are too. Like if it's a massive startup, what you're trying to pull down. But I think for me, I've dug through the trenches for years and years and years, and I'm glad that I'm in a position I am now, even though I suffered more than I necessarily had to. I just don't have to answer to anybody. You know what I mean? Okay. And so I think that's beneficial for sure. But
I've had some brain damage over partners for sure, and different.
It's tough.
And partnerships, there's always it's always an added issue. And there's 2 times when it goes bad. I've noticed when you have problems in partnerships, and when things go really, really good, and when things go really, really bad. In the middle, everything's just fine and dandy. But when it goes great, everybody gets greedy. Everybody starts freaking out. Everybody's grabbing. When it crashes, everybody goes nuts. Everybody's grabbing, ripping. So those are the 2 times in partnerships that tight agreements with your partners when you do it. But I've had some really successful partnerships too.
Yeah, I would say for me, the partnerships, what I would give advice on, especially on a small startup company, is if you're going to partner with somebody, make sure that neither one of you live and die on the business, at least for the first couple of years. Because it's the guy that, man, if this doesn't make it, I can't pay for
my house payment off of it.
Right. That's just asking for trouble, right? So I think that's an issue for sure to avoid. But I mean, having a good partner would be excellent. I'm at the point now where, with my company, Prime Recovery and Wellness, I have a guy who's an excellent guy. He's very successful, and he wants to invest. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't necessarily need the money. If I need money, I can just ask the bank for it. What I need is somebody to help me bolster the business or resource to do what I'm doing with me. And that's just not what this person's
you don't have. Yeah.
Right. That's just not what they're looking for. You got to really qualify your partner if you're going to do it.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. So. They got to bring, I think they got to, like you said, if your business is strong and it's that time, you could go borrow the money from a bank. Mm-hmm. But if they got to bring something to the table besides money, that's how it's been with all my partners.
Yeah. And I think resist desperation when you're feeling pressure. Hold on longer if you can. Don't do something out of desperation if you don't have to. I mean, it can be a great motivator, but some people will sell a large portion for a terrible, on terrible terms to somebody, and then they're like, God, I probably would have made it through that on my own. Instead, I gave up. Now I have to answer to somebody, or now I make 70% less or whatever. Yeah. So interesting. To wrap up, man, I want to do some rapid fire questions on you. First car ever owned?
First car ever owned, Probe GT.
Oh, yeah? Right on. Those are actually I don't know. It's nothing compared to...
Like, Gen Z's not going to know what a Probe GT
is.
They were such terrible built cars that I think there's none left. But I loved it.
It was quick, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a fast car.
Yeah. Okay. And you have 30-plus cars, so maybe you already have this, but dream car if money didn't matter.
I was able to buy it. Ford GT.
Okay.
I got to custom build it, custom color I want, and I got it. So
Andy Frizzell is crazy about those cars too.
Yeah. I've got Andy's a legit car guy. I've got to meet Andy, and we definitely bonded over car stuff. Yeah, he's legit.
Yeah, I think he has multiple.
Yeah. He's got. I have the 06 GT, and then I have the new style, the new ones. It's 2020, the new GTs that they built. Very different cars, but yeah, he's got multiple of both. Yeah. I've seen. He loves his old 06 GT. Actually, he's got the same ones. I think he's got the red with white stripes like I have too. But he's a junkie.
Yeah.
I love the GT. It's great. I've been able. There's lots of cool cars out there, but I don't. I got it. I knocked it out of the park. If I'm never able to buy another one again, I'll be fine.
Right on.
I did it. When it comes to cars, I think I put more weight in experiences these days. Like if you take something super crazy expensive, like go charter a yacht, spend $200,000, bring 10 friends. That's crazy. It's crazy money.
It is crazy.
Flight down there. I tell you, doing that and spending that 10 days with those friends gave more personal value to me than any Ferrari or hybrid car that I've been able to own. It's crazy. It's still, once you had one, I get it. But I'm just saying, if you measure the two, what did I get more value from? I got more value from the trip, and the money's gone, and the Ferrari that I got 80% of the money back out.
Sure.
Right? So
yeah, but I think a lot of that too is because you're able to provide an experience for other people. It's not just, individual.
Yeah,
experience.
I think it's just when you're with your friends and with your stuff. To me, when I think back, I just got more value out of that than sitting there looking at the cool car, driving the cool car, and I'm obviously a car guy. So
that's cool. Right on. Yeah. And you're Kansas City native.
Yep. Born at Liberty, Missouri. Born and raised.
Best restaurant in Kansas City.
Oh man.
Or give me top 3.
You're pushing best restaurant in Kansas.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble over here, but
I mean, let's go. Everybody's gonna Q39 me on barbecue,
Q39.
but I think Jack Stack for the consistent experience.
I like both of them, honestly.
One down there, Michael Smith's restaurants are great downtown.
Is it a steakhouse?
He's got some James Beard Award-winning restaurants. They're right down. What's Michael Smith's restaurants? Man, I feel bad now. I can't think of the name. He's got like 3 really nice restaurants down in Midtown that are kind of famous.
Yeah, I feel like
I should look it up.
You want to look that up real quick, Augie?
Michael Smith restaurants in Kansas City.
Is Anton's one of his? Is that his?
I don't know. I know Anton's is good.
I haven't been there in a long time.
That might be his upstairs. Was that Anton's upstairs? No, it's on the side.
I'm not sure.
It's gonna.
Michael Smith.
Farina. Farina's the word. Extra Virgin is the one I was thinking of.
Is that Italian?
Extra Virgin. No, it's eclectic menu, but it looks foo-foo right there. But it's really high quality food, and Michael does. And he's always there putting on a show. He's that kind of chef that does it.
I gotta check that out. I've never
been there. So I'm jumping restaurants, but it is Christopher Elbows Chocolates. Very high end. He had an ice cream shop here in town too. That's a very high end chocolate. It was rated the #1 chocolate in the world for a long time.
Really?
Out of Kansas City. Christopher Elbows. Put that one in. Christopher Elbows Chocolates. It's Artistine chocolates. Chris is a Liberty, Missouri kid. Grew up and then went to all these culinary schools. Became a famous chef. Yeah. So click on his site. Those signature, those designs, you kind of see it more, but he came up with that. That Chris was the one that came up with that style, and he goes all over the world. He gets spices from the chocolates from India, so they have the Indian spice to him. It's cool. So it's a jump from a restaurant, but if I'm gonna eat some chocolate, I'm gonna have a cheat day. It's Christopher Elbows chocolates right there.
I'm not a sweet guy at all, but I do like dark chocolate.
Yeah, I like caramel stuff. He's got a lot of caramel stuff in there.
All right, last question. This one's kind of generic, but still good. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice is a lesson. It's learn that life's not fair, so quit measuring it based on that.
Yeah, fair.
If you spend all your time worrying about, well, that's not fair, half the time you won't get out of bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people spend more energy being volunteer victim than they could have used the same energy to do anything else.
All the time.
And they could have got a leg ahead.
It's all in your head, right?
Right on.
It's all in your head.
Cool. Todd, thanks, brother.
Yeah, man. It's great.
Very good.
Great hanging. Thanks for the workout.